Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, your hand feeling like it's been replaced by a block of wood? Or maybe you've experienced that bizarre tingling sensation, as if an army of ants is marching up and down your arm. If you're nodding along thinking, yeah, that's happened to me, then buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey into the mysterious world of your nervous system. But here's the kicker. What if I told you that these seemingly harmless sensations could be your body's way of waving a red flag, a warning sign that something's not quite right under the hood? Well, my friends, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me paint you a picture. Imagine your body as a bustling city, with your nervous system acting as the intricate network of roads connecting everything. Now, what happens when there's a traffic jam on these neural highways? You guessed it, chaos ensues. And that chaos, it might just manifest as that numbness or tingling you've been brushing off. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if I told you that the root cause of this neural traffic jam could be something as simple as a vitamin deficiency? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, stick with me, because we're about to unravel this mystery together. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fascinating world of vitamin B12. Now I know what you're thinking. Vitamins? Really, isn't that just something my grandma takes? Well, hold on to your hats, because vitamin B12 is about to blow your mind. Vitamin B12, also known as cobalamin, is a water-soluble vitamin that plays a crucial role in our body's functioning. It's like the unsung hero of our internal processes, working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly. But what exactly does it do? For starters, vitamin B12 is essential for the formation of red blood cells. These little guys are responsible for carrying oxygen throughout your body. Without enough B12, your body can't produce enough healthy red blood cells, leading to a condition called anemia. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Vitamin B12 is also a key player in the proper functioning of your nervous system. It helps in the production of myelin, which is like the insulation around your nerve fibers. Without proper insulation, your nerves can't effectively transmit signals. It's like trying to make a phone call with a frayed wire. The message just doesn't get through clearly. But here's where it gets really interesting. Vitamin B12 is involved in the synthesis of DNA, the very blueprint of life itself. It helps in the production of S-adenosylmethionine, a compound involved in immune function and mood. So we're not just talking about numbness and tingling here. The implications of B12 deficiency can be far-reaching. Now, you might be wondering, if B12 is so important, why don't we hear more about it? Well, my friends, that's the million-dollar question. The truth is, B12 deficiency is more common than you might think. In fact, it's estimated that up to 15% of the general population might be deficient in this crucial vitamin. And here's the kicker. Many people don't even know they're deficient. So let's circle back to those numb hands and that pins and needles sensation we talked about earlier. These seemingly innocuous symptoms could actually be your body's way of telling you that you're running low on B12. But why does B12 deficiency cause these particular symptoms? Remember that insulation around your nerve fibers we talked about? When you're low on B12, that insulation starts to break down. It's like the protective coating on an electrical wire wearing thin. When that happens, your nerves can't transmit signals properly, leading to that numbness and tingling sensation. But here's the thing. Numbness and tingling are just the beginning. If left unchecked, B12 deficiency can lead to a whole host of other problems. We're talking about fatigue, weakness, loss of appetite, weight loss, and even neurological issues like depression, memory problems, and in severe cases, dementia. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds pretty scary. How do I know if I'm deficient? Well, my friends, that's where things get a bit tricky. The symptoms of B12 deficiency can be subtle and develop gradually over time. They can also mimic the symptoms of other conditions, making diagnosis challenging. But don't worry, we're not leaving you hanging. There are some key signs to watch out for. Apart from the numbness and tingling we've already discussed, keep an eye out for fatigue and weakness. If you're constantly feeling tired, even after a good night's sleep, it could be a sign of B12 deficiency. Pale or jaundiced skin. Remember those red blood cells we talked about? When you're not producing enough of them, it can lead to pale skin or a yellowing of the skin and eyes. Mood changes. Feeling unusually depressed, anxious, or irritable. It could be your body crying out for B12. Vision changes. In some cases, B12 deficiency can affect your vision, causing blurred or disturbed vision, mouth ulcers, or a swollen, inflamed tongue. These oral symptoms can be a surprising indicator of B12 deficiency. Now, if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, don't panic. The first step is to consult with your healthcare provider. They can order a simple blood test to check your B12 levels and determine if you're deficient. Even if your B12 levels come back as normal, you might still be deficient. How is that possible, you ask? Well, the current normal range for B12 is quite wide, and some experts argue that the lower end of this range is still too low for optimal health. So, what causes B12 deficiency in the first place? Well, my friends, that's where things get really fascinating. Unlike many other vitamins, B12 is primarily found in animal products. This means that vegetarians and vegans are at a higher risk of deficiency, but they're not the only ones. As we age, our ability to absorb B12 from food decreases. This is because B12 absorption requires a protein called intrinsic factor, which is produced by cells in the stomach. Some people, particularly older adults, don't produce enough of this protein, leading to a condition called pernicious anemia. But wait, there's more. Certain medications, such as proton pump inhibitors used to treat acid reflux, can interfere with B12 absorption. Chronic conditions like Crohn's disease or celiac disease can also affect your ability to absorb B12. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, I get it. B12 is important. But how do I make sure I'm getting enough? Well, my friends, that's where things get interesting. The best dietary sources of B12 are animal products like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy. If you're a meat eater, a 3-ounce serving of beef contains about 2.4 micrograms of B12, which is the recommended daily intake for adults. Fish like salmon and trout are also excellent sources. But what if you're vegetarian or vegan? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Many plant-based milk alternatives and breakfast cereals are fortified with B12. Nutritional yeast is another great option, often used as a cheese substitute in vegan dishes. However, if you're at risk of deficiency or have been diagnosed with low B12 levels, your healthcare provider might recommend supplements. These can come in the form of oral supplements, nasal sprays, or even injections for severe cases. But here's the thing. Not all B12 supplements are created equal. The most common forms you'll find are cyanocobalamin and methylcobalamin. Cyanocobalamin is synthetic and needs to be converted by your body into an active form. Methylcobalamin, on the other hand, is already in an active form and may be better absorbed by some people. Now let's circle back to those numb hands and pins and needles we started with. If you're experiencing these symptoms and they turn out to be due to B12 deficiency, the good news is that with proper treatment, these symptoms can often be reversed. But here's the catch. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to reverse the damage. That's why it's crucial to pay attention to these seemingly minor symptoms and not brush them off as just a sign of getting older or sleeping in a weird position. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, my friends, it's simple. Your body is an incredibly complex machine, and sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest impact. That numbness or tingling you've been ignoring, it could be your body's way of sending you an important message. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the common vitamin deficiency behind numb hands and pins and needles. Until next time.